They are not gone because they stopped loving you. They may be gone because loving you has awakened something inside them they were never ready to face. And before you assume their silence means rejection, understand this. Some people run from the very love they secretly pray never leaves them. Have you ever felt someone's energy still around you, even when their words disappeared? As if a part of them is still reaching for you, but their fear keeps pulling them back. Stay with me, because what looks like distance may actually be an inner battle they cannot explain. If this message is speaking to something you have been feeling but could not explain, pause for a second and write, I choose myself with love. Not because you are giving up on them, but because you are refusing to disappear inside their confusion. Sometimes the hardest silence to understand is a silence that still feels full of emotion. When someone disappears completely, the heart may eventually accept it. But when someone becomes quiet, while their energy still feels present, while their memory still touches your thoughts, while your intuition keeps whispering that something remains unfinished, that silence becomes painful in a different way. It makes you question yourself. You start wondering whether you imagined the connection, whether you misunderstood their feelings, whether you were the only one who cared deeply. But not every silence is emptiness. Sometimes silence is the language of someone who has been shaken by what they feel and does not know how to stand inside it. This person may not be silent because you mean nothing to them. They may be silent because you mean too much. Your presence may have awakened emotions they were not prepared to carry. You may have touched a place inside them that they usually keep guarded, hidden, controlled, or ignored. For some people, love does not immediately feel safe. It feels dangerous because it asks them to open. It asks them to be seen. It asks them to stop hiding behind pride, distance, excuses, distractions, or emotional walls. And when a person has spent years protecting themselves from pain, even genuine love can feel like a threat. That is why their silence can feel so confusing. On the outside, it may look cold, it may look careless, it may even look like rejection. But inside them, there may be fear, guilt, longing, shame, and emotional overwhelm all happening at once. They may think about you more than they admit. They may replay conversations, remember your face, feel your absence, and still convince themselves that staying quiet is safer than reaching out. This does not mean you should excuse the hurt or pretend their silence has not affected you. Pain is still pain, even when it comes from someone confused. But it does mean you should stop using their silence as proof that you were unloved. Sometimes the person who says nothing is carrying feelings they have not yet found the courage to confess. Love can feel beautiful, but when it becomes real, it also becomes revealing. It does not only show people what they want, it shows them what they fear. This is why someone can love you deeply and still pull away when the connection becomes too intense. At first, they may have felt drawn to you, comforted by your presence, excited by your attention, and warmed by the way you made them feel understood. But the moment the bond started touching deeper places inside them, something changed. Not because the love disappeared, but because the love became serious enough to expose the parts of them that were still wounded. Some people are comfortable with desire, but terrified of intimacy. Desire allows distance, it allows fantasy, it allows them to enjoy the feeling without fully surrendering to it. But intimacy asks for honesty, it asks for vulnerability, it asks a person to be emotionally naked, to stop performing strength, to stop pretending they are unaffected, to stop hiding behind silence or pride. And for someone who has been hurt before, abandoned before, betrayed before, or made to feel unworthy of love, that kind of closeness can feel overwhelming. They may not fear you, they may fear what loving you requires them to face within themselves. This is why their behavior may seem contradictory. One moment they feel close, the next moment they become distant. One moment they show warmth, the next moment they act cold. One moment you feel their heart moving toward you, the next moment they retreat, as if they are protecting themselves from something dangerous. That confusion can break your peace because you keep trying to understand it logically. But fear is rarely logical. Fear makes people run from what they actually want. Fear tells them that if they open their heart, they may lose control. Fear convinces them that loving someone deeply means giving that person the power to hurt them. So when love triggers fear, the person may create distance not because the connection is weak, but because it feels too powerful. They may need time to understand why your presence shakes them, why your absence follows them, and why their heart keeps returning to the very place their fear keeps avoiding. There are moments when someone's behavior feels like a personal attack. But in truth, they are not only reacting to you, they are reacting to everything inside themselves that your presence has awakened. This is what makes the connection so difficult to understand. You may look at their distance and think they are rejecting you. You may look at their silence and think they have chosen indifference. You may look at their mixed signals and believe they are playing with your heart. And yes, their actions may hurt. You do not need to pretend otherwise. But beneath the surface, this person may be fighting a battle that has less to do with your worth and more to do with their own emotional confusion. One part of them may genuinely want to come closer. That part remembers your warmth, your patience, your energy, the way you made them feel seen without forcing them to explain every hidden piece of themselves. That part feels the pull. It misses you. It wonders what would happen if they finally stopped resisting and allowed the connection to become real. But another part of them is afraid. That part whispers warnings. It tells them not to trust too much, not to feel too much, not to need anyone, not to risk being exposed. So they move between longing and protection, between desire and fear, between wanting you and running from what wanting you means. This inner conflict can make them appear cold, unstable, or emotionally distant. They may say less than they feel, they may act stronger than they are. They may hide behind excuses because admitting the truth would force them to face themselves. And when a person is not ready to face themselves, they often make the other person feel confused instead. That is the unfair part. Their inner war can become your emotional burden if you are not careful. So understand this clearly. Their confusion is not your responsibility to fix. You can have compassion for their struggle without becoming a victim of it. You can recognize that they may love you while still refusing to chase someone who keeps running from honesty. Love may explain their fear, but it does not give them permission to keep hurting you. The pain you feel is not something you need to explain away or be ashamed of. When a connection touches you deeply, distance does not feel simple. It does not feel like a normal ending. It feels like something has been left open inside you. You may wake up with their memory in your mind. You may move through your day normally, answering messages, doing your work, smiling when needed. But somewhere beneath all of it, there is a quiet ache that follows you. And the worst part is not always missing them. Sometimes the worst part is wondering whether they miss you too, whether they feel the same emptiness, whether they are also pretending to be fine while carrying a storm they never speak about. That kind of pain can make you question your own mind. You may tell yourself to move on. You may try to be strong. You may feel embarrassed for still caring, especially if they are silent, distant, or unclear. But your heart is not foolish for feeling what it feels. Deep attachment leaves an imprint. When someone becomes meaningful to you, their absence is not just the absence of a person. It is the absence of conversations you expected, tenderness you hoped for, safety you felt, and a future you quietly imagined. So do not insult yourself for grieving something that mattered. But here is where you must be honest with yourself. Pain can be real without becoming your identity. Missing them can be real without becoming your prison. Loving them can be real without making you abandon your own dignity. Your pain is asking to be heard, not worshipped. It is asking you to slow down, breathe, and return to the parts of yourself you may have forgotten while trying to understand them. Because sometimes when someone pulls away, you begin chasing answers so intensely that you leave yourself behind. So yes, the pain is real, The bond may be real, the silence may still carry meaning, but your healing must also become real. You cannot keep bleeding emotionally just because someone else does not know how to speak clearly. Feel what you feel, but do not disappear inside it. Let the hurt teach you where you need tenderness, where you need boundaries, and where you need to choose yourself again. True love does not always arrive in a clean, peaceful, perfectly understandable way. Sometimes it comes with confusion, hesitation, fear, resistance, and moments that make you wonder whether the other person is truly feeling what you are feeling. This is because deep love does not only touch the soft parts of a person, it touches the hidden places too. It reaches into old wounds, past disappointments, memories of betrayal, fear of abandonment, fear of not being enough, fear of being seen too clearly. And when someone has never learned how to feel safely, even love can become something they do not know how to hold. This person may love you, but they may not yet know how to love without protecting themselves at the same time. They may want closeness, but the moment closeness becomes real, they pull back. They may want emotional honesty, but when honesty is required, they become silent. They may want to be loved deeply, but when someone actually offers them that kind of love, they begin doubting it, testing it, or running from it. That does not mean their love is fake. It means their love is mixed with fear, and fear makes even sincere feelings come out in painful ways. This is why the connection can feel both sacred and exhausting. You feel the depth, but you also feel the disorder. You feel the bond, but you also feel the uncertainty. You feel that something powerful exists between you, but you also feel the ache of not knowing where you truly stand. And that is where you must be careful. Do not romanticize pain so much that you forget what peace feels like. A messy connection may have meaning, but meaning alone is not enough. Love must eventually become mature enough to protect the heart, not only disturb it. So when love arrives messily, do not immediately call it false. But do not call every painful pattern destiny either. Some people truly love you while still lacking the courage, emotional discipline, or self-awareness to love you properly. And until they grow into that courage, you must not sacrifice your peace just to prove the connection was real. Sometimes a person does not fully understand the weight of your presence until they are forced to feel the emptiness of your absence. While you were there, while you were patient, available, forgiving, understanding, and emotionally generous, they may have become comfortable. Not because you were ordinary, but because your love became familiar. They got used to your warmth. They got used to your messages. They got used to knowing you cared, even when they gave you confusion in return. And when someone becomes too comfortable with your presence, they can forget that your presence is a gift, not a guarantee. This is why stepping back can become a powerful mirror. Not as a game, not as manipulation, not as a way to punish them, but as an act of self-respect. When you stop chasing, stop explaining, stop trying to prove your worth, and stop filling every silence with your effort, something changes. The emotional space becomes clear. Suddenly, they are no longer protected by your constant availability. They are left with the truth of what your absence feels like. They begin to notice the quiet. They begin to remember the way you cared. They begin to feel the difference between having your energy close and losing access to it. This realization can hurt them because it forces them to face what they avoided. They may begin to understand that you were not just another person. You were someone who brought softness into their hard places, someone who saw through their masks, someone who stayed longer than most would have stayed. But sometimes people only recognize depth after distance. They only recognize loyalty after silence. They only recognize love after they can no longer reach for it whenever they want. Still, you must not make your absence a performance designed to pull them back. That is weakness dressed as strategy. Step back because your soul needs peace. Step back because your dignity matters. Step back because love that is constantly taken for granted eventually becomes self-betrayal. If they realize your worth, let that realization come from truth, not pressure. And if they return, let them return with clarity, humility, and consistent action. There is a painful truth that the heart does not always want to accept. Someone can love you and still not be ready to love you properly. They can feel deeply, miss you quietly, think about you often, and still lack the courage to step forward with honesty. This is where many people lose themselves. They begin trying to convince, persuade, explain, wait, prove, and overgive, hoping that if they love harder, the other person will finally become clear. But love cannot be forced into maturity. Readiness cannot be begged out of someone who is still hiding from themselves. When you beg love to become ready, you slowly begin negotiating against your own worth. You accept less communication than you need. You excuse patterns that keep hurting you. You become grateful for small signs of attention, even when those signs do not come with real commitment, responsibility, or emotional truth. You start measuring love by potential instead of behavior. And that is dangerous, because potential can keep you trapped for years. You may keep telling yourself, they feel it, they just need time, while your own heart keeps breaking under the weight of their uncertainty. The hard part is that your intuition may be right. They may truly love you, they may feel the connection, they may be fighting emotions they do not know how to express. But none of that changes the fact that love without readiness creates pain. Love without courage creates distance. Love without action becomes a wound you keep reopening every time you wait for them to finally choose clearly. Feelings matter, but feelings alone are not enough to build trust. A person must be willing to show up, speak honestly, take responsibility, and meet you with emotional consistency. So do not beg. Do not chase someone into becoming the version of themselves you wish they were. Do not shrink your needs just to make their fear more comfortable. If they love you, life will eventually ask them to prove it through clarity, not confusion. Your role is not to drag them toward truth. Your role is to stand in your own worth, keep your heart clean, and refuse to abandon yourself for someone who has not yet learned how to stay. Do not give up on love, but do not confuse love with losing yourself. This is where your heart needs wisdom, not fantasy. It is possible that this person truly loves you. It is possible that their silence is hiding emotions they cannot yet explain. It is possible that the distance between you is not the end, but a painful space where both of you are being forced to face yourselves. But even if all of that is true, your life cannot remain frozen while someone else decides whether they are ready to stand in the truth. You were not created to wait endlessly in uncertainty. You were not meant to keep checking your phone, reading between lines, replaying old memories, and trying to decode someone's silence, like it is your responsibility to understand what they refuse to say. Love may be patient, but patience without self-respect becomes suffering. Hope may be beautiful, but hope without boundaries becomes a cage. And if you are not careful, you may spend so much time believing in their hidden love that you stop noticing your visible pain. This is why you must hold both truths at once. Keep your heart open, but keep your dignity awake. Do not become bitter. Do not punish them in your mind. Do not turn your love into hatred just because they were not ready. But also do not abandon yourself just to keep the connection alive. A real bond should not require you to disappear. A true connection should not demand that you carry all the emotional weight alone. If love is meant to return, it must return with honesty, maturity, and effort, not just longing. So continue your life, heal your nervous system, rebuild your peace, pour energy back into your purpose, your body, your friendships, your dreams, your future. Let them face what they feel without you forcing the lesson. If they truly love you, your growth will not push them away from what is real. It will reveal whether they have the courage to meet you there. And if they never come forward, then your healing will still save you from becoming someone who waited so long for love that they forgot how to live. So do not give up just because this connection hurts right now. Pain does not always mean love has vanished. Sometimes pain appears when two souls are standing at the edge of truth, but one of them is still afraid to step forward. Sometimes silence is not the end. Sometimes distance is not rejection. Sometimes the heart pulls away because it is terrified of the very thing it wants most. And maybe this person truly does love you. Maybe they feel your absence more deeply than they show. Maybe they are fighting emotions they cannot name, memories they cannot escape, and fears they are not brave enough to confess. But listen carefully. Their love must never become the reason you abandon yourself. You can understand their fear without becoming a prisoner of it. You can hold compassion for their struggle without carrying all the pain alone. You can believe there is something real between you without lowering your standards for what love should feel like. Because real love may be complicated, but it should not keep destroying your peace. Real love may need time, but it should not ask you to disappear while waiting. So let this be the turning point. Stop chasing answers from someone who is still hiding from their own heart. Stop begging for clarity from a person who has not yet found courage. Stop measuring your worth by their silence, their hesitation, or their confusion. You are not hard to love. You are not too much. You are not foolish for caring. You simply met someone who may feel deeply, but has not yet learned how to stand fully inside that depth. If they are meant to return, they must return differently. Not with mixed signals, not with half-truths, not with temporary emotion that fades when fear rises again. They must return with honesty, consistency, humility, and the willingness to meet you in the open. And until that day comes, your task is not to wait in pain. Your task is to heal, grow, protect your peace, and become so rooted in yourself that love no longer makes you lose your center. Do not give up on love, but more importantly, do not give up on yourself, because the person who is truly meant for you will not require you to break your own heart just to prove that theirs is real.